Hey guys, it's Dimitri through Bashka Streetwear. So I'm finally starting this series that I've said I would start for a while, but here we go. It's how to start a clothing brand. And this is going to be the first episode. It's going to be the introduction to the series. And basically it's going to be like a 7-part series. And within each part, there's probably going to be multiple videos. Like one part of the series might be longer than the other, depending on the kind of information. So for instance, in the third part, we're going to be talking about, I think, like the design and stuff like that and making that. So that would be like picking colors, choosing a name, choosing a logo, stuff like that. So that could be like a video for each of those topics because some of them go really in depth, but might be shorter. So yeah, I've said I've made this, I've said that I would make this for a while. And today I was just like, you know what? Let's just do it because I know a lot of people every day are searching this on YouTube, and there's not too many people that will realistically give you a path to accomplish it. And what I want to do is, so I have my clothing brand, right? I want to make it and explain what I did, exactly how I did it. And if I made it this far and it's working out for me, maybe some of you will take the same path and it will work out for you. The path you take is not going to be 100% what I did because what I did is not exactly what other people do. Everyone has their own way that they're going to accomplish it. But in general, there are a series of steps that you have to complete if you want to start a brand and market it and get it going and launch it, right? So I'm just going to explain exactly what I did, and this is going to be a pretty in-depth series, so there's going to be multiple videos. If you're not patient and you don't have a short attention span, these videos might not be for you. As you've seen in my previous videos, some of them are 5 minutes, some of them are like 30 minutes. So if you are serious about starting a brand and you want like a realistic way to do it and to at least get it going and started and expand and grow from there, I think you'll like this series. So I'm just going to outline exactly what I'm going to be talking about. The first thing in the series is going to be like brainstorming. And I'm sure almost everyone has heard of this term in school. And basically that's just gathering all of your ideas together and all your thoughts and your aspirations about what your brand wants to be, right? Then the second part of that is developing a concept. So basically this part, the second part, is you're taking what you've brainstormed and you're like honing it down, narrowing it down, and you're fleshing out your brand, right? And within this, you are basically designing your logo, you're picking your colors, you're choosing your name, and this part will probably be one of the longer series. We'll have tons of sub videos within that. Then the third part is organization. And I included this in here because I think that when you are serious about starting a brand and you really want it to have like you want to have a successful launch and you want it to be strong, you have to have some organization in your brand. And what I mean by this is basically you're going to be, getting all of your social media handles together. That's like your Twitter, your Facebook, TikTok. You got to make sure you get all of those names down. After you pick a name, go and lock in those social media handles so you own them. Even if you don't use the social media, it's good to just have it and own the name. And that way you can either use it in the future or you can prevent people from pretending, to be you and either, using your name for their personal gain or like, they're making a brand that's like yours and it's fake. I know like in China, obviously they rip off everything. And they, like for instance, Nike, they make fake Nikes and they sell them and they label them as Nike. So that's the way they scam people. So basically you want to make sure you get a hold of all of those handles on that stuff so that people know that it's you. And it's always an aspiration, like if you get big enough that you get that cool blue check mark on your handles and people know that that's like the official legit source for your brand. If you get at that level, that's like pretty crazy, because there's a lot of big brands and they don't even get to that level, which is cool. But yeah, basically you're going to be in this section, you're going to be getting that at a minimum, and at a maximum you're actually going to be getting your LLC. So that's like your business structure. I'll go into depth about that, but that's not 100% necessary for this part unless you're like totally dead on serious and you want to invest money into that and like get that going. It's not that much, but I'll explain all of that. This is going to be more of the technical kinds of videos about that. The fourth part is going to be designing and creating. So this is pretty self-explanatory. You have to design the piece, or you're going to have to hire or find help and talent in doing that, because I've said this a lot in videos and I'm going to push this forever on my videos. If you're not creative, if you're not artistically talented, if you don't have a design eye, you can't just say, I'm going to design a piece of clothing, I'm going to make something cool on it, because honestly, the people that are more artistically inclined, they're going to be able to do that better than you. And that's really what's going to drive your growth and sales, is making really cool pieces. Like for instance, I designed this and I've already sold like almost all of these out. So you really want to get that down, and like don't think you can do it all. I know like I can design and do photography and organize and all that stuff, but there's other things in the business that I'm learning or I need to get help on, right? So you got to be honest with yourself. And the video before this that I made, I actually talked about this. One of the important things you should know before starting a brand is to know yourself and then figure out who you can put in place of those areas that you're not good at. So that's super important. So you're going to be designing a piece, preferably, and kind of what I'm going to be going off of on this is you're going to try to make the best possible piece you can for your launch, because you want your launch to be successful. And you can make ancillary things with that, like stickers or a keychain or whatever, and we'll like go over all of the kind of combinations. Some people, you literally might only be able to launch a brand with stickers. Some people actually do that. They make pins or stickers and then they grow the brand from there, because they just have no money and they want to start out that way. And some people have done that. Other people start out with a bigger launch. They have like a hat, a hoodie, a t-shirt, keychains, everything to start out with. And you can go that way too. So I'll list some options, and depending on your budget and what you're trying to do, you can pick one of those and go along with it. So then the fifth part of this is going to be to source manufacturers, or the most basic is just like your printers, because that's how I started out. I just found a screen printer and they got me hooked up with some like clothing that they offer from their suppliers, and they printed a t-shirt, and that's how I started. And it was relatively easy that way. There's so many streetwear brands where the person that starts it, they basically just honestly create a t-shirt or two and it just goes off from there and they grow it that way. That's how I started. And if that's something that you want to do, I highly encourage it, and I'm going to go off on that, because if you start out a brand with like just a really cool t-shirt and it just pops off, it's very easy to grow it from there and to make larger collections, to sell hoodies, to do hats, everything. You can go off from there, and it's a low budget way. I'm developing this whole series assuming that you're not a trust fund baby. You're not like Jeff Bezos, because there's like, as much as I admire him in some ways and Amazon and all that, he didn't technically just like, oh, I started a brand in my garage. He like he got like $250,000 from his parents that invested into him for that, which is cool. and crazy, but I literally didn't have any of that when I started my brand. I had nothing. I started it with my own money and nothing like that, like $250,000. So I'm assuming that you guys are going to be starting out at that level as well. If you have more money to start out with, you're going to be at a better level sometimes. It might be easier. But honestly, it also might be harder because sometimes having too much money will suffocate the creativity out of you. When you have limited resources, you have to use your brain and your creativity more to solve problems and to make designs. And, you know, that is actually an asset to you. You know, it's not necessarily a detriment. So then to the sixth part, that is going to be the marketing. This one is super important. This one is also, I'm going to underline it. It's one of the most, not confusing, but hard to figure out and to really get going and implement for people, I think. I think this one is like, without marketing really, it's not, your brand's not really going to take off. So you really have to figure out how to get this down in whatever ways you can. And I'll explain what I did, and I'll explain a lot of paths to take to market your brand. There's paths that are free but slower, and then there's paths that are, they cost more money but they're a little bit faster. But like I mentioned like a minute ago, sometimes if you have too much money, it can suffocate the creativity out of you. And to be honest, you actually do not need any money to do marketing for some ways and some reasons. For instance, Tesla, they basically don't really spend any money on marketing. The product and the hype around it, like the people talking to each other, that's what markets their company. And that's an example of like basically spending nothing to market, right? Like you don't see commercials or billboards for Tesla, right? You just know about it because it's hyped up. And Elon Musk, he's his own personality that people gravitate around. So that's an example. I'm kind of already going off into this topic. I want to save that for later when we get to that. Then you're going to do your launch. This one is where you take your brand and the pieces that you have created, you have them in your hand. Ideally, you have them in your hand. Sometimes you might do a pre-order, and we'll talk about that. But ideally, you have it in your hand. And this is where you take your pieces and you're basically giving them over, selling them to people, right? You have a launch. You might have a launch online. You might have it in person, and we'll go over that. This one can be kind of disappointing for some people, and I'll explain that, and I'll explain how to get over that. And sometimes this can be like, you know, a rocket ship to the moon. This is like your brand really takes off, and it's like, you know, clear skies from there. And then we're going to talk about the last one. I think I set out this is going to be a 7-part series, but really it's probably going to be more like an 8-part series, and that's going to be delivery. And this is basically like, after you got a piece, someone purchased it, now you have to figure out how to send it out the door and get it to them, and, you know, packing, shipping, all that stuff. And then from there on, basically what you're doing is you're going to be repeating this for the rest of your life. Not necessarily this stuff, but once you get your brand going and it's popping off, that might take a while, and I'm going to be totally honest about all that stuff and give you guys realistic expectations. I'm never going to market the videos I make to be like, to have stupid thumbnails where it's like, oh, I made $1 million in a month like selling stuff, you know what I mean? I'm going to be like as honest as I can about stuff and realistic. But yeah, once you get it going, if you're I'm gonna write repeat. If you're repeating this, that means that you made it. Like that's like your dream, right? If you're watching this and you like really want to start a brand and that's like your passion and like that's just what you think about every day, and you're doing this and it's working out, like you made it. Like that, congratulations. I'm at this point right now, and I was driving the other day because I got a new car, and I was just like, wow, this is like so cool. I'm driving the car I really want. I have a brand that I worked really hard to develop, and I'm super blessed, and it's like all blessing from God. And like I haven't like made it in like the my goals like to where I want to be, but I made it in the sense that I'm here and like things are running. Like I'm in the repeat stage. I'm not into the, like, I wouldn't say I'm into the legacy stage. That would be like maybe a step 9 where you're doing like intense collaborations. You have like distributors everywhere. Like you have a lot of shops and they are selling your clothing. You are making a sub brand. I think that's cool when designers make like a sub brand. For instance, Nike, they have tons of sub brands. They have Nike SB, they have Nike football, they have Nike ACG, which is the one I really like a lot. That's their tech wear and all that really advanced, expensive stuff. I've thought a lot about making a sub brand and I have some ideas, but I'm not in that stage to pursue that right now. So yeah, that's gonna be what I'm gonna be discussing, how to start a clothing brand. There's gonna be a lot of videos, maybe, honestly, I don't even know. There could be like 50 of them, to be honest, because I'm gonna go really in depth about each step and what I did and my advice to you. And, you know, take that advice and apply it to your situation as best as you can, and you can tweak it. None of this is like totally concrete. You don't have to do it 100%, but to be honest, what I've learned in life is that if you see a successful model, what you got to do is just copy it. There's nothing wrong with that. And copy it in a way that obviously suits you and the way that you can do it, and make it your own, right? Because for instance, if someone totally just like tit for tat copied my brand, first of all, it wouldn't be as successful, because it's actually kind of cool. I'm in a stage 2 where people kind of defend what I'm doing in a sense. Like for instance, there was something that happened where I made a design and I launched it as a piece of clothing, and someone else that doesn't even like live in America, they were like a pretty high up there designer. They had like double the amount of people that followed them on social media. They made a design that was like super similar, but it wasn't on purpose. They just had the same, you know, thought pattern as me about something. And I had people like, I didn't even know about this, because the designer contacted me and they're like, hey, I took down this post because I had a lot of people that were jumping on me for it, for copying you. And I was like, oh, like that literally happens all the time. There's actually a lot of people's inventions. People were inventing stuff at the same time that someone else was inventing something on the opposite side of the world. So they weren't necessarily copying them. It's just that they released something at the same time. And I told them, I was like, hey, I literally, even if you kept it up, I literally don't care. I honestly do not care what other brands are doing that much. I don't really pay attention to too much to what other people are doing. I'm super focused on myself, and I want to like carve out as large of an area as I can within my region, my domain, what I'm interested in. And I want to own that. And that's an aspiration that you guys should have. Like the fact that there was people that were like jumping on this person for like stealing a design, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool actually. And I didn't take any offense to it. And the guy's like, oh, I took it down. I was like, oh, I literally don't care. I like, honestly, I wish you the best as a designer. You're super talented, and like, you know, have a good one. That's my attitude towards stuff. And if people reference like my work and what I do and they take inspiration for that, like, I don't care. That's cool. Like, I'm honored for that in a sense. So those are going to be kind of the 8 steps, and there's going to be tons of videos. I hope that you guys get a lot of value out of this. I remember that when I was trying to start a brand, I was like, on my day job, and I was just listening on YouTube all day, like everything, like marketing, packing the stuff, how to make designs, all this stuff. I would listen to this channel, and I was so thankful that someone was out there making videos. I don't think they fleshed it out as much as they could have, like going super, super detail about stuff. But it was very nice that there was like some YouTube channels where people are doing that. And I'm at this stage where I want to give back and help other people out. And also, I've mentioned this before, one of the reasons why I did start a YouTube channel as well is that I get a lot of people that ask me questions, and I simply don't have time to go and answer in depth for everyone over and over and over again. What I typically do is, if they have a quick question, I will answer it, but then I'll say, hey, I have a YouTube channel. Here's the link for it. And then they can look at all of these resources, and it's helpful for them and also helpful for me because I can't help everyone like individually. So this is like a super big thing. And if you're kind of more closer to my level and your brand is up and running and you find yourself getting tons of questions, maybe point people towards this channel or another channel, or obviously you can create your own channel too, because that will be very helpful for you. If you're a brand owner and you're at that level, you should definitely think about doing that. Have like a really solid resource for people, unless you are obviously one of those people that does not care about helping other people, and you just don't answer any DMs or emails, then maybe that's not your prerogative. But I'm into that, and I want to give back and help other people because I know I got value from other people. So yeah, that's going to be the series of how to start a clothing brand. I hope you guys like this introduction, and stay tuned for more videos. Oh, and one other thing. So I'm not going to be making these videos like dead on in order. Like for instance, we're going to do the first episode brainstorming and then go off on that and make sub videos if we need to. I'm not going to be making episode 1, then I'm going to do episode 3, then episode 4. Sometimes I'm going to make episode 1, then I'm going to make just another random video, because I always make random videos about what I'm dropping, other concepts that I'm thinking about. So those videos will be padded into there. So don't necessarily expect there to be like everything in order. I'm going to make random videos like I always do in between everything as well. But I will try to make a video related to this series at least once a week. That's going to be my goal. I need to hold myself to it. There's been times where I haven't been making a video once a week on YouTube, and I don't like that. I want to be consistent because I want to grow this channel, and I know it'll help you guys. So I hope you got value out of this introduction, and I will see you guys later.